Yung sinasabi nila that the Philippines is overpopulated, that's correct by certain standards, but it has slowed down considerably. That the millennials and the Gen Zs, nako, ang dami dyan na ayaw magkaroon ng anak. We needed work here in the Philippines. I came back specifically for this.
Magandang araw po sa kanilang lahat. Nandito po tayo sa ating episode ng The Sun Podcast. At ang ating tatalakayin ngayong araw ay isang napakahalagang issue parte sa fertility. At ang ating eksperto na nagpaunlak sa ating invitation ay walang iba kundi si Dr. Joy Novero, isang medical practitioner right now practicing in hospitals and also a faculty member of the UP College of Medicine. Magandang araw.
Magandang
Doctor.
araw, Tito. Magandang araw sa inyong lahat. Ikinagagal ako, andito ako.
Okay, so we now go to the why. Paano nagsimula yung crusade on fertility? Para kang yung mga Egyptian, 'di ba, mahilig sa mga fertility rites, yung pagsasayaw sa ubando, mga ganyan yung paniniwala, no?
Marami akong ganyan, mga ethnic beliefs in fertility. Anyway, ano pa lang first year college pa lang, even before I entered the fraternity, pumutok yung balita dun sa first test tube baby, si Louise Brown. That was in 1978. And it fascinated me. Sabi ko, ito ang gusto ko maging specialista.
Just wait, let me interrupt you. A baby inside a test tube?
Yeah, yan ang kanilang pag-describe dun sa proseso in layman's term. In short, para tong yung paggawa ng baby sa labas ng matres ng babae. So you get the eggs from the woman, get the sperm from the man, and put them together in the laboratory outside, and then you return it back to the woman at some point.
Oh, yun yung test tube baby.
Yun yung test tube baby.
I see. Akala ko palaki ng test tube. Pasensya na po, palabiro rin ako kung minsan. But so continue sa ating inspiration mo. Got curious, got inspired?
Yes.
Oo.
So, high school pa lang ako, alam ko na magdodoktor ako, but I was not sure kung anong specialization. So yun nga, nung pumutok yung news kay Louise Brown, sabi ko, this is what I want to do in the future. So, natapos ang college, I applied sa UP College of Medicine and eventually graduated. And the entry point was to get into fertility through the males as a urologist or through the female as an OBGYN.
Mhm.
Sa klase namin, ang tatalino ng mga klase ko, may dalawa sa klase namin na mas mataas ang rank sa akin. Dalawa lang ang slots sa pagiging urologist. Nag-apply na lang ako as an OB.
Mhm.
Yun ang naging entry point ko. I studied fertility through OBGYN.
Mhm.
And after the residency of 4 years, I went abroad to study the field, which is assisted reproductive technology or in vitro fertilization.
But you're not talking of fertility in terms of making somebody who's not fertile.
Yung sinabi kong fertilization through na pinag-aralan ko abroad, yun ay parang advanced fertility na yan. So syempre, merong basic forms of fertility treatment which we can do here in the Philippines. Pero yung more advanced forms of fertility, which covers a bigger part of the field of reproductive medicine and fertility, yun ang kailangang lumabas ako. Kasi at that time, wala pang specialist na ganun dito sa Pilipinas.
At the time.
That was 1992, 93.
Oh, that's not so far off, 1992. But at that stage, other countries, other Western countries were already in the developed stage.
Yes, the first IVF baby was born in 1979. Tapos the first IVF babies in Asia were in the 1980s. So the Philippines was lagging behind. And well, I think many would probably know that the reason why IVF was lagging behind here in the Philippines was because of ethical, moral, spiritual reasons.
Let's go to that portion later on. So
Sure.
you got interested in it, you studied for it, and then what happened? Siyempre wala dito, 'di ba? So you had
Mm.
to go abroad.
Mm. So I trained for it. Incidentally, I went abroad for another field. I was sent by UP. The department did send me for a technology which was also just beginning then. It was called laparoscopy. Many of you probably are aware what laparoscopy is.
Mm.
That's where you insert a tube with a camera through your umbilicus so that you could visualize the insides of your abdominal cavity. That's what they sent me for. Pero when I was there, my boss, Dr. Paul DeBrew, who was an icon in the field of laparoscopy as well as IVF, convinced me to get some learnings and learn about IVF. Alam niyang walang may marunong ng IVF sa Pilipinas. So,
IVF.
oo.
Bakit ano yung in vitro? Where does that word come from?
Kasi the reason why hindi nabubuo yung ibang babies, meaning hindi nagkakasama yung male gamete, which is the sperm, and the female gamete, which is the egg. The reason ba't hindi sila nagkakasama is because of certain particular reasons. And that's why sometimes you need to get the egg outside of the woman and put it together with the sperm outside, form the embryo, and then you return it back into the uterus at a point where they could already be implanted into the uterus.
So meaning to say, they are not able to meet.
Yes.
So parang dalawang OFW hindi sila makapag-meet.
Yes.
Tapos nagkita sila sa isang barko, doon sila nag-meet, tapos ibabalik mo sila sa kanilang normal condition. But parang ano, 'di ba? Kasi ang audience po natin ay hindi naman ganoon ka familiar, especially on IVF, because normally ang IVF ay merong halaga, may cost. And maraming tao na gusto magkaroon ng anak, so adoption is the option. But here we have you and a team of medical practitioners who were able to acquire the technology. So binigyan ka ng pagkakataon dito saan bansa 'yon?
I went to Belgium.
You went to
So,
Belgium. Oo. So and then what happened after
Well,
that?
around that time, there were some senior fertility specialists in the Philippines who had no formal training but were trying to learn the process. They set up an IVF center here in the Philippines with the help of foreigners. So when I came back, tamang-tama, nag-uumpisa pa lang yung IVF center.
Wow.
Yeah, so I came at the right time.
Mm.
Pero of course, kasi nga
Pun intended.
Yeah.
Ano?
And then yun nga, things did not progress as quickly as possible because of so many factors, but eventually it did by around several years later when a second IVF center was opened, and finally when I also had my own IVF center in 2010 when the St. Luke's Medical Center put up the IVF center. Well, actually I put it up for them. I headed and opened the IVF center in St. Luke's Global.
So there are many centers already in the country today.
Over time, there are now, as of today, there are 11 IVF centers.
Wow. Wow, fantastic. So you are giving hope to persons who are not able to have children through the normal means to have their own children.
And there's an added reason, Tito, for why we advocate fertility treatment nowadays. It's because the fertility rate of the Philippines is going with the trend of a declining fertility all over the world. Remember, in certain countries like South Korea and Hong Kong, the fertility rate, kasi to make it clear, the replacement number is 2.1. That means that if you have more or less two children to replace the parents, the designated fertility rate is 2.1. That's replacement level. Ang Hong Kong na and ang South Korea, Singapore, yung mga yan nasa 0.7, 0.8 na ang kanilang fertility rate. They're declining na talaga. It's an aging population. The Philippines, which used to have a fertility rate of something like 4.7 or 5, right now it's also below fertility replacement level, which is now at around 1.9.
Wow.
So, yung sinasabi nila that the Philippines is overpopulated, that's correct by certain standards, but it has slowed down considerably. And if we don't watch out, and we don't watch out, we'll have levels that might approach to levels of Singapore and Hong Kong and Japan.
That's a very good that's a very good statement and statement of fact. Because sabi nga nila dito sa Pilipinas ay merong retirement age. Whereas in other countries, walang retirement age. As long as you can work, you can be productive, hindi ka pinaparetire. So ngayon, what's happening is we are decreasing the number of population to replace the older ones.
Yes.
O so dumadami yung mas matanda.
Yes, so a lot of things are in play right now. Pinag-aaralan ng mabuti, should we really push for the family planning programs? Kasi nagsuslow down na yung ating replacement levels eh. Yung idea that the millennials and the Gen Zs, nako, ang dami dyan na ayaw magkaroon ng anak. Ang gusto nila magkaroon ng aso at pusa. Wala nang gustong magkaroon ng anak ngayon. Based on certain surveys, parang half na lang of the generation Z couples do not want to have kids. Kaya it's a bit alarming. So we are providing and if you're there marrying late or deciding late, we have to provide the means by which they could still achieve their dreams.
Oo nga, kasi yung isa kong anak sorry for being personal, for putting this on the table, but nag-aalaga ng ilang pusa. Sabi ko, gastos mo parang meron ka ng isang anak. Diba? But that's a very good statement to make, especially kasi itong audience natin mostly will be the young people, and we're not really encouraging them to just get pregnant and whatever, or raise kids irresponsibly. But there has to be some means by which to reverse or to manage our population.
Tito, that's the other trend. That's the other end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is teenage pregnancies. So marami pa ring mapupusok ng mga bata who unknowingly without planning for it, they get pregnant. We also want to control that. But we're after our couples who willingly marry, or at a certain point they want to have kids and they're unable to because of certain reasons, or they really deliberately don't want, affecting ngayon our social standing.
Alam mo, meron akong mga kilala kaya nilang magpalaki, magpaaral ng isang barangay. Pero pinipili na isa lang daw yung anak nila para they can give the child the best.
Yeah.
Diba? And then end up that the best child doesn't want to have babies.
Yeah.
So the generation stops there. So another area of teenage pregnancy. Now, ang question ko, hindi ka ba nagkakaroon ng issue with your pastor or parish priest, or di ba probably in the beginning, I don't know, even up to now, how you're able, what you mentioned earlier about the ethical and moral issues of IVF.
Yeah. Yes, I'm Catholic. So those issues are also present with me. In fact, when I was offered to learn IVF, I needed to take some time. Kasi half of the year while I was there, pinabalik ako dito for Christmas. Pinapa-decide ako kung kung gusto ko mag-train in IVF tapos na yung laparoscopy part. I had to talk to my wife at length. And madami kaming pinagdaanan, madaming emotional, even prayers na pinagdaanan namin, until finally some events which I choose not to mention now told me na it is okay to go on as long as I do not do third-party IVF, which means we use surrogates, we get donated eggs and sperm, and we do not discard embryos. Those are okay with Almighty. That's what I got.
What do you mean? A sperm or an egg of another person
to be used in that particular
to become a baby of
Yes.
of a couple?
Correct. Kasi that's one of the many options that couples can do. Kasi sometimes sobrang matanda na yung babae. So the quality of the eggs are poor. So they have to get the eggs of a younger woman so that it is going to be viable.
Mhm.
Ganun din, in the same way, it's possible that the husband is unable to produce good sperm, so you have to get a sperm donor. So such possibilities are are doable in the IVF process, which again is one of the sources for controversy with the church.
Mhm.
So ako, I choose not to enter those controversies and just stick to
Focus.
IVF with between married couples.
So, may nabanggit ka din yung, you eliminate, ano yan,
Yeah,
yung
discarding. Yeah, kasi
discarding.
yes, kasi when you do IVF, it's possible that you might be producing embryos that you may not need anymore in the future. Kasi halimbawa, you produce 5 embryos and then you already have your 3 kids from IVF. Nagamit mo na. Meron ka pag 2 extra. Anong gagawin mo dun sa 2 extra embryos na yon? Eh, like what you said kanina, yung iba naman ay nang sobrang madami, mahirap ang buhay. Yung iba naman, pipilitin nila pero mahirapan sila. So some in other countries, they discard extra embryos. Here in the Philippines, we are not supposed to do that because we're a Catholic country, we're a basically Catholic country, and we respect the sanctity of life, so nobody discards embryos here in the Philippines.
So, bali the extraction of the egg and the sperm, and then it becomes a
An embryo.
embryo. Ngayon, ibabalik siya. Sabi mo, 5. So, 3, naging bata. Eh, sabay mong kinuha. Hindi ba sila parang, ano yun, triplets?
Yeah, hindi naman ganun, Tito. Kasi when you form embryos, lalo na kung you grow them to a certain stage, let's call them blastocyst stage, ilalagay mo yan one at a time. There was technology before nung hindi pa masyadong developed. Ang nilalagay, at an earlier stage of the embryo, ang nilalagay mo 3 or 4 or 5. May naalala ka pa noon, may nauso, Octomam. 8 yung nilagay na embryos. Tapos Octomam sa US yun.
Oh.
Those days are gone. Wala na, tapos na yun. Now you have to develop the embryos to blastocyst, that's day 5. Para you have the decision to put in maximum of 1 or at most 2 at a time. You don't have sobrang high order multiple pregnancy anymore.
I see. So that's a very good thing, no? Somehow our medical practitioners here stick to your personal moral and ethical code.
Yeah.
Ang question ko ngayon is, you must have invested to pursue this. Because as you were saying, when we started this here in the country, you were the first one who studied abroad and actually opened the center or helped the center, established the center. How difficult was it?
Well, the first centers, I did not invest in them. They were invested by the more seniors, so nakigamit lang ako. Nagdadala lang ako ng cases. Those were the first 2 centers where I was involved in. The third center I'm involved in is a center that was developed by St. Luke's. I provided the input and they executed it. So again, ang investment ko lang doon is knowledge. And my skills, my know-how. So, well, there are opportunities currently, but I'm not at liberty to talk about them right now.
But you never did think of practicing abroad?
No. I was offered by my boss in Belgium to stay there and practice there. Apparently, he liked the work I did, but we needed work here in the Philippines. That's why I came. So that I came back specifically for this.
When you mentioned about weak sperm or weak egg, is there also a possibility that some countries or a certain type of a technology can actually manipulate an egg or a sperm to make that an embryo more advanced? Is there such a thing happening have you heard of it or aware of it?
But I'm not sure what you're trying to say. Pero yes, there are a lot of technologies that are designed to try to avoid certain problems in offspring. Like for instance, the formation of trisomy 21, which is their Down syndrome. That's a developmental problem genetically with an extra chromosome 21. So naging 3 yung chromosome 21 niya instead of 2 lang. May technology ngayon where at the point where there's just blastocysts, you can test the blastocysts to know if their chromosomal makeup is good or not. So if it's not good, then you do not transfer that. That's an abnormal embryo. Instead, you test all the embryos available, check which ones are good and which ones are not healthy or might just result in failure. We call them aneuploid. Aneuploid yung merong abnormality in the number of chromosome copies. So once you do that, we call the test PGTA, pre-implantation genetic testing for aneuploidy. So once they've identified the embryos, you check which ones are healthy and those are the ones that you use. That way, you don't implant those that are abnormal and potentially lead to an abnormal child.
Well, we leave that topic for a while kasi medyo touching on something, for another for another episode. But since you started, what's your success rate in terms of like producing an embryo and then implanting it?
When we started here in the Philippines, siguro the pregnancy rates initially were around 25 to 35%. But with the improvement of technology over time, now it's bordering somewhere between 50 to 70%. We're including such technologies as PGTA kasi nga hindi mo na ita-transfer yung mga abnormal embryos. Kasi yung abnormal embryos, pag aneuploid, i-transfer mo, that's 96% failure. Pag aneuploid transfer mo, hindi mo mabubuo. Mamamatay lang yun or hindi mag-implant.
Ito yung mga
May abnormality sa
mga ganun?
Ay, hindi yung ectopic.
Hindi yun.
Depends. Ito lang, genetic lang yung abnormality. Pero pag in-identify mo na, then higher yung chance na magsa-succeed sila kasi they will not miscarry, they will not fail in terms of fertilization. Tuloy-tuloy lang siya. Meron na lang mga small percentage na hindi kakapit kasi may mga unknown reasons for failure pala yan.
Okay, so sa ating population, has there been a study how many couples or na meron talagang kailangan ng tulong ng IVF centers? And how are you able to attract them to do that? Even for persons who can afford to go to other countries.
Yeah, that's a broad thing to discuss. Ang pinakamatindi talagang obstruction really is cost. And probably 70 or 80% will not be able to afford the costs involved for IVF. So you have to help them by doing programs that will bring down the cost. May chance sa bababa din yung chance for success when you bring down the cost because there will be certain more expensive technologies that you won't use. Pero what we're trying to do right now is to convince health insurance companies to provide health insurance for infertility, which is being done in certain other countries. In the US, in Israel, everything's covered by the state.
Wow.
In the US, a big proportion is covered by health insurance. In Singapore, mababa dati ang usage rate niya ng IVF. Pero when they open their health insurance, ang dami nilang cases ngayon. In Malaysia, where there's none, yan ang pinuprove nila ngayon. And I'm trying to learn from my friend from Malaysia. We're trying to push that here in the Philippines, and we need to talk to Secretary Ted Herbosa to help us promote this, to help convince the health insurance companies to have infertility insurance.
Narinig niyo po yun. I hope that this one will be listened to and heard to give hope for others who cannot afford this technology to be able to avail of it.
Yes.
So, maraming salamat na that you are not only giving hope and a chance for parents or couples to have children, but also have them have children who are genetically, what do you call that? Efficient?
Well, good. Close enough.
Close enough. Na magiging tulad mo na nakatapos ng medisina sa University of the Philippines, na mahirap din pumasok ng medical school. And then maganda ngayon, marami ng medical school sa bansa.
Yeah.
Tapos nabigyan ka pa ng pagkakataon para makapag-aral ng ganitong teknolohiya sa ibang bansa and actually open a center in the country, in one of the top hospitals in the country. I heard also you have many books, you give talks and all that.
Part
And
of that, yeah, part of the trade, syempre, you have to pay forward. You have to spread the word. You have to teach your colleagues.
so, ito po si Tito Mora, Sun Podcast, ang ating bisita na ngayong araw, an expert on IVF. I hope that we will be able to convince other sectors to support this so that others will be given a chance like other normal couples. Maraming salamat.
Maraming salamat. The pressure is mine.